All right, the committee will come to order. This is the Ag Subcommittee. If you are here for a different subcommittee, you are in the wrong room. This will be the final meeting of the Eat It, Grow It, Pet It Subcommittee until crossover. So if your bill is not heard today, there is always next year. With that, we will get started with our queue. Delegate. First, the clerk will open the roll. All right, thank you. All right, the clerk will close the roll. A quorum is present. We have a large docket today. The clerk will close the roll. A quorum is present. We have a large docket today, so I ask that everybody is brief. We will allow patrons to present for 1 minute on their bills. We will offer 3 minutes for those in favor, 3 minutes for those opposed. We will do the same for online testimony. What that means in practice is I'm asking everybody to please do the others who care about your issue a favor and keep your comments to 30 seconds or a minute, because if you speak for too long, they will not get a chance to speak, just given the length of the docket. We do have a couple of administrative ones before I call up the delegates. So Delegate Simons has asked for House Bill 2335 to go by for the day. If I would entertain a motion to do that. It's been moved and properly seconded for House Bill 2335 to go by for the day. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, House Bill 2335 is gone by for the day. Delegate Scott has asked for House Bill 2409 to go by for the day. I'll entertain a motion to do that at this time. It's been moved and properly seconded for House Bill 2409 to go by for the day. All in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. House Bill 2409 is by for the day. In front of us now is House Bill 1768. Delegate Martinez. Delegate Martinez, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have some line amendments that need to be passed. I was going to defer to council to go through that.
Council, can you please report the amendments?
Mr. Chairman, there are 7 line amendments. On line 46, introduced after standing, we're striking the remainder of the language on line 46 and through 2026 on line 47. On line 50, introduced after agency, we're striking the rest of the language on line 50, all of line 51 and through USDA on line 52. On line 53, introduced after conducted by the, we're striking USDA and just writing out to U.S. Department of Agriculture with the short form USDA. On line 110, introduced after park, strike primary, insert primate. On line 111, introduced after or we are striking again primary, inserting primate. On line 118, introduced after zoological, we're inserting park. And on line 118, introduced after A, we're striking primary, inserting primate.
All right, is there a motion to accept those line amendments?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of adopting the amendments, please say aye. All opposed, nay. The amendments are adopted and in front of us. Do we have a printout of those amendments? Okay, it should be online. Let me make sure that we have this online. Give us 1 second.
I hope my minute hasn't started.
Your minute has not started. You have time to gather your thoughts and be succinct and excellent.
And eloquent.
All right. Why don't you go ahead, please, and explain your bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. HB 1768 limits private ownership to qualified institutions. The private possession of primates is inhumane, poses unacceptable physical dangers and zoonotic disease risks to the community and emergency responders. Laws prohibiting the ownership of primates promote animal welfare and protect public health and safety. What this bill will do is prohibit the possession of primates as pets, grandfather existing pet primates, no new pet primates can be acquired, exempts research facilities, sanctuaries, zoological parks, and circuses meeting specific criteria, establishes local control as an overseeing agency to enforce the act, establishes penalties for violating the act and causing any serious bodily injury as a result of the attack. Experts, including the Association of Zoos and Aquarium, the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, the National Animal Care and Control Association, and the American Society of Primatologists, oppose the private possession of primates. The bill is supported by the Virginia Humane Society, Virginia Veterinary Medical Association, Performing Animal Welfare Society, the North American Primates Sanctuary Alliance, Animal Welfare League of Arlington, PETA, Virginia Federation of Humane Societies, and the Virginia Animal Protection Group. What I wanted to also say, for example, we have a Leesburg Park that is a animal type farm for our kids. This would not be impacted by it. I talked with them yesterday and assured them that as long as they meet the requirements to be registered and to be able to take care of, they are not going to be impacted by this. And I say that specifically so that everybody else, I'm sure there are other parks within a lot of different areas, they are not to be impacted. If they are following the requirements for the licensing and registration, they should be okay with this. So Cheryl Crow from the Humane Society is here, and I would defer to her for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the subcommittee prior to us introducing witnesses? All right, Delegate Webert.
Usually bills like this have a reason as to why they're being brought forward. Is there an incident that caused this bill to be brought forward in the Commonwealth?
Good afternoon, Chair Helmer, members of the committee. Cheryl Crow. I'm the Virginia State Director with the Humane Society for the United States. In written testimony sent yesterday, we have a documented list of about 21 incidences within the state of Virginia over the last 10 to 15 years. So our main concern is that there's no current documentation or registry for owners of primates in the state. So we have no idea of knowing how many exist currently in our communities and districts, posing public health, safety, and public safety risk.
Further question, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What are these incidents?
So these are private owners with primates being kept in their home, incidences of individuals being bit, being injured by primates kept in the home.
All right, no problem, Delegate. I don't see any further questions from the subcommittee at this point. I'd ask the clerk to please put. Oh, sorry, Delegate Lawfer, I didn't see it pop up here. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you tell us, is there other states that have these type of, I guess, code sections or anything like that?
Sure. So currently there are 16 localities within the state of Virginia that have local ordinances. As of 2021, there are about 21 states documented that have a full ban on the ownership of primates by private individuals.
All right, thank you very much. If the clerk will go ahead and put 3 minutes on the timer, we'll take testimony for those in favor of the bill.
Still here. Thank you. So I'll speak fast. I trust that you received my written testimony and support along with our Virginia-specific fact sheet and info. I stand to emphasize that zoos, parks, and sanctuaries are not the target or focus of this legislation. Current owners of primates in good standing, legal owners are grandfathered, posing no immediate burden on existing sanctuaries. This legislation provides exemptions for zoos, sanctuaries, exhibitors, and licensed keepers. And I will close with this. This is not just an animal protection bill. This is a public safety and public health protection bill. Important to note. I urge you to move to release to advance protections for both primates and people with this bill. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the subcommittee. My name is Daphne Nakminovich. I represent People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Just to address Delegate Webert's question, not all attacks are reported in the news, but we have tracked a girl in Chesapeake who was bitten by a capuchin monkey, a man who lost a finger and had torn ligaments in his wrist after being attacked twice by a capuchin in Chesapeake, and a chimpanzee being used in commercials who bit 2 people, as well as a macaque who attacked a man in Surrey County, injuring the man's nose and wrist. This will only impact private ownership. So these are people who seek to have these animals as exotic pets, and there's no good reason to do that. Thank you for your consideration. We hope you will support the bill. I'm also here on behalf of the Virginia Alliance for Animal Shelters. I think people are having a hard time signing on remotely, and the Virginia Federation of Humane Societies. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Tabitha Treelor, and on behalf of the Richmond SPCA, we also urge you to report this bill for the safety not only of protecting primates who do not belong in private homes, but also protecting the public from the great harm that these animals can do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. If there's anybody who is not able, we'll go to online after we go to oppose, but if there's anybody who is not able to get online or not able to speak today but wants to, we do accept written testimony. That becomes part of the record. It follows and stays with the bill, so I encourage you to do that as an alternative. Seeing nobody else here to speak in favor of the bill, is there anybody who is opposed to the bill who would like to come forward? All right. Seeing none, do we have anybody online? All right, let's go ahead and open it up. I see 2 folks just one person, looks like okay. 2 Heidis, one is for, one is against, one of them is on. Ms. Krosky, you are on. I have you as against the bill, so please go ahead, and you have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Heidi Krosky, and I am representing the Virginia Animal Owners Alliance. I don't know if any of you have ever had the chance to interact or work with a primate, but it's a pretty remarkable thing. And for those of us that work with primates, we recognize this bill as very anti-animal. They're really preparing for the worst and for the destruction of these animals. While we appreciate the patron working with the private zoos, we do appreciate that. We are still concerned about the bill. And our biggest thing, if you would look at the language, is that for the first time, it's allowing a companion animal, a primate, to be impounded in the home of a citizen. And that really is going to start something that Virginia has not done up until now. It's going to have a lot of legal ramifications and probably constitutional ramifications. So there are concerns with what this could start. I know it's primates now, it could be dogs later, but we do ask you to please oppose this bill. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And I see we'll reset the clock. We have Ms. Meinzer here. Ms. Meinzer, you have up to 3 minutes, although you're welcome to use as little time as you like, or as much, up to 3. Thank you.
My apologies. Heidi Meinzer with the Virginia Federation of Humane Societies. We are in support of this bill. Trouble logging on, but I appreciate your patience. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your testimony. Thank you all who participated. At this moment, I will entertain any further questions from the subcommittee. I don't see any. Delegate Martinez, you have the last word.
Well, the comment that was made against, first time I have ever heard the word impound associated with this bill. That is not the intent. The intent is to protect the primates and protect the people who own them. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, will be the appropriate time if there are motions from the subcommittee.
Mr. Chairman, I move to gently lay this bill on the table.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and properly seconded to lay this bill on the table. That is a non-debatable motion. The clerk will open the rolls. Thank you. The clerk will close the rolls. The motion to lay the bill on the table passes on a vote of 10-0. I thank the delegate. Delegate Martinez, this seems like an incredibly important issue. Seems like we need to do a little work on stakeholders and policy and things like that. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to ask the chairman if you'll write a letter to VDAX or the appropriate agencies to make sure that we get this in a proper posture for next year so that we can work on this and move it forward. So really appreciate it.
I'm
Thank
happy
you,
to do
Mr.
that.
Chairman.
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you. With that, the bill is laid gently on the table. The next bill in front of us then is, Next bill in front of us is House Bill 1837, Delegate Bloxham. Delegate Bloxham, again, about a minute to introduce your bill. We'll allow 3 minutes.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. This bill is removing a Virginia license that was probably put on before 1920 for produce brokers. The federal government has a license that takes care of or remedies any problems. The bill in Virginia, the way it works right now, and there are only about 11 of these dealers. 8 of them, I think, are on the shore. So when you buy and sell agricultural produce, the law now in Virginia, you have to obtain a license and post a bond. The PACA actually covers all of that. They don't have to post a bond, but it covers any discrepancies or any, if non-payment, they have a mediation. What this would do is remove VDAX from that. VDAX really has no enforcement authority anyway. So this PACA covers everything that this does. I called one of my dealers and asked him, why, what does this do? He says, I don't know. We just always paid $50 every year. We've done it forever. So that's what we do. So, and that kind of removes that. So that's the purpose of the bill. Like I say, the physical impact's $550, and it probably saves money because VDAX doesn't have to mess with sending it out. So that's really all the bill does, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Delegate, are there questions from the subcommittee? There are none. Are there those in favor of the bill who wish to testify? Okay, if we can please put 3 minutes up on the board.
I'm not going to take 3 minutes, Mr. Chairman. Brad Copenhaver on behalf of the Virginia Agribusiness Council. We support this bill. We think it's a good streamlining process, and like the delegate mentioned, PACA covers this at the federal level, a good process there, so we appreciate it. Thank you.
Others in favor of the bill? All right. Those opposed to the bill? Is anybody from the administration here? I know you.
Mr. Chairman, would that help my bill or hurt my bill?
Mr. Chair, just a quick question. I guess for VDAX, are they going to miss the 200, however many, what's 11 times 50?
$550 or so.
$550?
Yeah.
They're going to miss that?
It sounds like I don't have a speaker letter, so probably not that.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the subcommittee. My name is David Janino from the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. Want to thank Delegate Bloxham for bringing this forward for us. The question about was there a specific question that you needed?
We just wanted to know if the administration has a position on this bill.
Yeah, so the administration supports this bill. It's an agency bill and will help us kind of streamline as Brad had mentioned. So,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Do we have anybody signed up online for this bill? All right. I want to thank the delegate. I know you've worked this pretty hard for $550. So at that point, I will entertain a motion from the subcommittee.
Mr. Chair, move to report.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded to report the bill. The clerk will open the rolls. The clerk will close the rolls. Delegate Bloxham, HB 1837, reports on a vote of 10-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, next in front of us, Delegate Obenshane, Deer, Elk, or Bears, House Bill 2273.
Oh, my.
All right.
That's right.
About a minute, please, and then 3 minutes for pro, against, in person, same online, and we'll entertain questions, motions, et cetera, in between and after.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. HB 2273 is a bill to address deer overpopulation and specifically constituent concerns that were raised to me about their ability to control populations on their own properties. The bill is a pretty simple bill. I don't have to tell this committee about the dangers that go along with deer overpopulation. It's certainly a problem in Southwest Virginia, and of course, we have a lot of farm owners and individuals who deal with the property damage, the crop damage, and all other things that go along with it. All this does is really tries to clarify the lanes. There are many different approaches to addressing overpopulation, some at the local level, some at the state level. All this really attempts to do is to clarify those lanes and set forth that the DWR program that authorizes them to issue kill authorizations, that can't be infringed upon by the locality with their own programs. And so that's what this bill is attempting to do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there questions from the committee? Delegate Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So are there localities that are basically putting a limit on what a permit can, or how many animals a permit can contain?
Thank you for the question. So I think really the issue is more of miscommunication between localities and landowners. And I think the issue is, while they haven't specifically limited individuals under this code section, there are other code sections that are local controlled, like the stamp program. And we want to make it clear that if a landowner has authorization from DWR under this code section, that can't be limited by the locality, or they can't be, in violation of a locality's ordinance if they have authorization under this code section, this separate code section.
Seeing no further questions from the subcommittee, at this time we'll entertain testimony in favor of this bill. All righty, we'll entertain testimony against the bill. Seeing none, I don't see anybody signed up online. Delegate Obenshain, do you have any deer, elk, or bear hunters signed up online for this one?
I don't think so, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Mr. Chair, a quick question. Do we know where the administration stands on this bill?
Delegate Obenshain, do you want to answer that question?
I have not received any opposition to it from the administration. I don't know.
DWR right here.
Yeah. Explain to them what kill permits are.
All right.
I can do that.
Ryan Brown, Director of the Department of Wildlife Resources, and Delegate Fowler. I'll spare them the encyclopedia of kill permits, but the administration does not have a position on this bill. From our view of it, it codifies how the existing law is structured and just clarifies the authority of the department over these matters.
So, okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, just real quick. All right, so I've got, I'm going for either a bear permit or a deer permit. So basically what the bill seeks to do is, if I go for one of the, I get a bear permit almost every summer when they try and come into my sweet corn. Basically what this bill would do is say that if the county has an ordinance, like, because counties can adopt different like hunting regulations and things like that, what this bill seeks to do is say that because I've got a kill permit from you to take care of the management of that issue, that would basically, that it says that they can't interfere with my ability to deal with that kill permit.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and I think I understand your question. I don't believe this legislation would override local firearms ordinances, ordinances that dictate which weapon types can be used in given areas and things of that nature. As I read it, it simply states that as to the subject of the kill permit that you receive itself, nothing that the locality does would invalidate that permit or your authorization to address your damage issue.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
So I thought the power for this right now is through the state, and what you're doing is you're giving it up to the localities.
Mr. Chairman, first part of your statement, yes, the authority now does lie with the state, particularly the department. This bill doesn't change that. This bill, I think, really just seeks to state clearly that in code, which is how we've understood the existing statute to read.
So follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
So if it's simply stating something that's already happened, the bill's not really doing anything. Besides stating in code what's already the practice for the Commonwealth.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it might be a better question for the patron. I think in our experience, we've certainly administered the program as the prime authority on these matters. That's been our experience. I think he brought the bill because he's heard from some constituents some concerns that someone might question our authority.
What?
All right, thank you very much. You have the last word.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Delegate Runyon is not ready to give you the last word. A very important question about this bill.
Absolutely, and
Okay.
Mr. Chair, it's really a comment to make sure that we understand what's going on here. I actually have possessed these, let's call them kill permits. They're actually maybe a more appropriate term or used term. But wildlife, these things are necessary in the agriculture community to manage crop damage. And they're critical that they're both issued in a timely and appropriate volume manner. Otherwise, you would be amazed what a bear can do to a cornfield in a short period of time, what a couple of deer can do to a vineyard in a short period of time. I've experienced the vineyard thing myself. So, Mr. Chairman, I really have no question, but I did want to clarify the purpose of these. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
And Mr. Chairman, just to address the question from Delegate Lopez, while I would say the bill doesn't change anything in terms of the relationship between the state and the locality, it attempts to clarify, like I said, those lines of demarcation between what the state's authority is to issue these kill permits and what the locality's authority is under other code sections.
All right. Thank you very much. The committee operates by motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we lay this bill on the table.
All right, there's been a motion to report. There's been a superior motion to lay the bill on the table. That motion has been properly seconded. It is a non-debatable motion. The clerk will open the rolls. All right, the clerk will close the rolls on a vote of 6-3. House Bill 2273 is laid on the table. Thank you, Delegate Obenshain. Appreciate it. Delegate Lopez, did you want to go next, or do you want me to? Or you went? Okay. All right. So next, Delegate Simon's bill has gone by for the day. Delegate Scott's bill has gone by for the day. Delegate Cordoza, you have two bills in front of us: House Bill 2496 and 2497. You want to go ahead with 2496?
Yes, Mr.
All right,
Chair.
Rules of the road: a minute to present, 3 minutes for those for, those against. Same online. Give you time to close up. We'll take questions and motions in between and after.
Absolutely. Thank you. HB 2496 would simply allow the Department of Wildlife Resources to, it says place, but it's to replace a safety monitoring device, a camera, at the Fox Hill boat ramp in Hampton. We have had a myriad of complaints of criminal activity that would have been caught by this camera had it been functioning. It has not been functioning for quite a while. It is on state property. We've had residents in that area threatened and some of their houses shot because they would call the police, and there is no evidence of who's done it. Doorbell cameras are not catching the correct resolution, but this camera would, and we're just requesting to get that camera back up operating, and so these criminals can be brought to justice. And I would add that the Senate has put this into their budget. And there is a budget amendment, even though it does not show a fiscal impact, we still have a budget amendment in there, just in case.
All right, thank you very much, Delegate Cardoza. Are there questions from the subcommittee? I see no questions from the subcommittee. Are there folks here to testify in favor of House Bill 2496? I see none. Are there any here to testify in opposition to House Bill 2496? Mr. Clerk, I don't see anybody online for that. Is that correct? Are you waiting for anybody online, Delegate Cardoza? All right, there is nobody to testify for or against the bill. Delegate Cardoza, we have some questions from the committee. Delegate Runyon, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'd be curious to know who owns this property?
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, Delegate Runyon, the state owns this property. This is Dandy Point, so this is on state-owned property.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, to be more specific, is there a state agency that owns this property that would have oversight over it?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Delegate Runyon, it would be the Department of Wildlife Resources.
Okay. Would be interesting to hear from.
Did you have a follow-up? Did you have a follow-up question?
Yes, follow-up, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Would be interesting to hear from them their observation of the extent of the problem, and has there been these type of observations made at this facility in the past? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Come on up. You've been summoned. All right.
Mr. Chairman, Ryan Brown again, Department of Wildlife Resources Director. And we don't have a position on the bill. We're at you all's discretion on this one. This boat ramp exists down the city of Hampton, an area that has experienced criminal activity. In response to that, we've increased patrols down there and done other things that are within our capabilities to help address the problem. And consultation with my officers feels like that's been as effective as it can. The particular cameras in this case are known as flock cameras or license plate readers, which I know have been of specific interest to this body in the past, and thus, wise to seek you all's approval of this. If we were to put them in, with that, we'd be happy to try that technology to see if that helps with some of the local concerns.
Quick question, Ms. Brown. So just so I understand, is there anything that actually prohibits you from doing this today?
There's not specific legislation or language in the code on the license plate reader cameras. Now, I know that has been an issue in front of this body the last several years, and I believe there's legislation pending this year on the subject of state agency and law enforcement use of these cameras generally. So, well, I'd say I know of no code prohibition of our employing this device under current law. I know it's been a particular topic of interest, and there was similar legislation introduced last year that went before the Chesapeake Subcommittee, I believe, where that discussion was had.
Thank you very much. All right. Delegate Lawfer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to further investigate. That's the line of questioning I have. Who's going to be monitoring the information that's collected on the cameras? How long is that information going to be held? These are the questions about these types of devices.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm by no means an expert on these devices, but I'll tell you in general how I understand them to work. So it's a camera that records the license plate information of vehicles that come through an area. In this case, I think you'd have two such cameras, one at the either entrance and exit, or however you want to think about it. And that information, the person using the technology doesn't actually own the cameras. They belong to a company, and you enter into an agreement with them for operation and maintenance after installation. And the information recorded by the camera is shared with the database for that service provider, which provides information on other places where that particular license plate has appeared that are also serviced by the same camera system to help, put together information on where a particular vehicle was, if it was involved in criminal activity or things of that nature. I do not know how long that information is stored. I'd be happy to try to get in touch with the representative of a company and find out that information, but I presume it's stored for some period of time so that it can be compared to other observations.
a follow-up if, oh, actually, I have a motion if.
All right, if it's okay, I've just been giving everybody who speaks to the bill a final word on it. So before we entertain motions, if it be okay with you, give Delegate Cordoza just a few seconds to speak. And then we will entertain your motion, Delegate Lawfer.
All right, thank you. And just to give a little more clarity on where this is a boat landing at the end of a neighborhood. And we've experienced a number of people doing drag racing, violent acts, drug exchanges, all manner of things that have been going on there. And this has happened since people have been made aware that the cameras that were there are no longer functioning. So because of that, it's a free-for-all. And they've threatened the neighbors. They've shot into the neighbor's home who've called the police. This is a grave concern. I'm not a big fan of cameras. I voted against a lot of them. But in extraordinary circumstances such as this in a neighborhood, I would ask for a favorable outcome on this bill. This is a grave safety concern.
All right, thank you, Delegate. Delegate Lawfer, we will entertain your motion.
I would just like to say I sympathize, but there is language to be put in here to clarify who gets to see it, how long. There is, but without that information, I'd like to make the motion to lay this gently on the table.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded to lay House Bill 2496 on the table. That is a non-debatable motion. The clerk shall open the rolls, please. All right, the clerk shall close the rolls. The motion to lay the table is successful on a 5-4 vote. This bill is laid on the table. Thank you very much, Delegate Cordoza. Delegate Cordoza, House Bill 2497 is in front of us. Same rules of the road. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. This bill will require that suppliers of electric vehicle batteries ensure that the materials used to construct these batteries are not using slave labor. As we know, 70% of the world's cobalt comes from DRC, which is known to use African slave labor to obtain those materials. And we would just like to make sure that we are not supporting slave labor. And that's what this bill simply does.
All right, thank you. Delegate, are there questions from the subcommittee? Seeing none, do we have anybody here to testify on behalf of the bill? Do we have anybody here to testify in opposition to the bill? I do not see anybody listed online. Did you anticipate anybody online for or against the bill? All right, there is nobody online to testify before or in favor of this bill. Delegate Wilt,
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion at the appropriate time.
All right, we'll afford the same courtesy to the delegate that we did previously. So we'll let him go ahead and close out unless there are any questions. And any other questions from the committee before we entertain a motion? All right, you have the final word. Please be brief.
I would just say that it's our responsibility to ensure that we're not buying products of slave labor, and I would hope this bill is acted on positively.
All right, thank you very much. There is a motion, or there's about to be a motion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to report.
All right, it's been moved to report and properly seconded. Are there any other motions on this bill?
Move to lay on the table.
There's an alternative motion, a superior motion to lay this bill on the table. Is there a second? It has been moved and properly seconded to lay this bill on the table. We'll address that motion first. If that motion fails, we'll deal with the motion to report. The clerk will open the rolls. The clerk will close the rolls. The motion to lay House Bill 2497 on the table passes on a vote of 5-4. Thank you very much to the delegate. Appreciate your time. All right. The next bill, I'm sorry, when we did our administrative pieces at the beginning, I missed this one. House Bill 2512, at the request of the patron, she would like us to strike this bill. I will entertain a motion if somebody's ready to make that. Second. It's been moved and properly seconded to strike House Bill 2512. The motion to strike is a recorded vote. The clerk will open the rolls. The clerk will close the rolls. House Bill 2512 is stricken from the docket on a unanimous vote. Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. All right, in front of us now is Delegate Fowler. You've got a lot of bills to do. Do you want to present from here? You want to present from up there? It's up to you. I mean, you look good. You look at the dice. You look good over there. It's up to you. Whatever you like. You don't want to run back and forth. All right. All right. I know you had some administrative. So do you want to incorporate one of them? Help me out here. What did you want to do?
Mr. Chairman, I guess I'm going to start off with House Bill 2629.
Okay.
And we have a line amendment.
All right. So House Bill 2629 is before us. That's Delegate Fowler's fishing license requirements, free fishing days. You wanted to tell us about your line amendment? You want the clerk to report it? How do you want to do that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Basically, what we're doing is, and I'm not sure how this got drafted, but I had another bill, which was the number of 2523, which had this language, which we're going to, we're going to strike that bill, but we're going to take the language from it and add it to 2629. So we're going to turn two bills into one.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Delegate. So why don't we, if we'll be all right, can we pause on 2569 for a second? Why don't we pull up 2523 and strike it from the docket?
Okay.
And then okay, it has been moved and properly seconded to strike HB 2523 from the docket. That is a recorded vote. The clerk will open the rolls and make sure we have the right bill. All right, the clerk will close the rolls. House Bill 2523 is stricken from the docket on a vote of 8-0. Back before us is House Bill 2629. There were amendments to that bill. Does somebody want to move the amendments that pull in 2523? It's been moved and properly seconded to add 2523 to 2629, and that bill is now before us. Delegate Fowler, please, same rules of the road.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. Both DWR as well as VMRC approached me last year about adding. Right now, the law currently allows DWR and VMRC to have 3 fishing days, and they determine what the dates are, and that allows citizens and children to be able to go out and fish, perhaps for maybe the first time, and then. And like what happened to me, they develop a lifelong love of fishing. And then hopefully at some other time they will purchase a license. But anyway, this is a free fishing thing. So what DWR and BMRC want to do is add another 3 free fishing days for each one. So now it'll be a total of 6 fishing days for VMRC and DWR. That's essentially what that part of the bill, and then we added the language from the other bill, and I don't know if the clerk wants to read what the subcommittee amendment what the amendment says, or shall I read the amendment, or do y'all have the amendment?
Madam Attorney, do you want to read the amendment out to us, or?
Mr. Chair, on line 96, introduced or inserting the department shall be reimbursed for lost revenue resulting from license exemptions or free or partially discounted fees to hunt, fish, or trap that are established by the General Assembly on or after July 1, 2025. Department shall maintain an accounting of lost revenue described in this section for each fiscal year and shall submit the accounting to the Department of Accounts on or before August 1st. Within 30 days of receipt of the accounting from the Department of Accounts shall pay the actual amount of lost revenue for the fiscal year into the Game Protection Fund established in that code section. The accounting maintained under the section and any other records relating to the accounting shall be subject to audit by the State Comptroller. Pretty much what that does, the language that was in 2523 is now in 2629.
So Delegate Fowler, it sounds like you have taken away and you have given back. Is that a fair accounting of it?
Not exactly, Mr. Chairman. What this amendment attempts to do is, over the years, the General Assembly has decided to give certain citizens, free fishing licenses, And so, but again, the General Assembly, has never reimbursed DWR, BMRC, for that cost. And so this bill basically just seeks to have the General Assembly put their money where their mouth is and reimburse DWR and BMRC for the lost revenue. And again, and I guess, I could reach out to the director. I'm not sure necessarily what the fiscal impact would be on that. And Mr. Chairman, and then of course the clock starts ticking on July 1st. So the stuff that happened in the past is in the past. That wouldn't apply to that, but it's.
Thank you very much.
It's July 1st, 2025.
All right, we appreciate it. I have questions from Delegate Weber, then Delegate Lawford. Delegate Weber, ask away.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So the language that we have added into this, I guess this would be a question for staff. Is it for any future actions that we take in regards to providing free licenses to certain folks?
Mr. Chairman, Delegate Weber, yes, pretty much. So on or after July 1, 2025.
Further question, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Delegate.
All right. So, a year and a half or 2 years from now, right? We decide we're going to carry a bill that will give, 5-year-olds a free license or, whatever it is. So therefore, because we've put in this license and the way DWR works, they're entirely funded by licenses. So if we're going to take that revenue away from them with this code section, we're saying that from that point on in the bill future, the General Assembly has to say, okay, we're going to reimburse those what those licenses would be so that they can continue to function. Correct?
Delegate Fowler, did you want to?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. First of all, for his description, I think all children under 16 years of age, I believe, can already fish for free. It's after they get that point, then they have to purchase a license. So this is, and again, all we're attempting to do is can start on July 1st if the General Assembly decides that they want to find different groups and they want to give away, free fishing licenses to people, then all that amendment does is say, well, that's great, but you need to reimburse DWR or BMRC for that cost. So that's basically what that part of the bill does.
Thank you, Delegate. Madam Attorney.
So it doesn't change anything about the licenses or anything like that. That's a separate part of the code.
Does your reading of that match the delegate's intent?
Mr. Chairman, as far as from what I can see, yes, it's not changing any of the licensing requirements. It's just saying it just has to be reimbursed.
Yep, Delegate Weber, does that satisfy you, or do you have a follow-up question?
I think so, Mr. Chair. So basically what we're saying is, so for instance, we've had legislation that gives, certain classes of veterans a free license or disabled folks free license. And what the bill seeks to do is if we're going to ask any other groups of the citizens to get free licenses, that the lost income that goes to DWR then be replaced with the General Assembly. So there's going to be a FIS on that stuff from going forward, correct?
Mr. Mr. Chairman, so based off of the accounting that they put together, yeah, it'd be reimbursed off of that accounting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Delegate Lawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was what I was going to ask as well. What is the, impact financially, and does this need to go to appropriations then
We were just discussing that. We have a letter on the bill whose language was incorporated. Depending on where this committee goes, I will just interpret that to mean the language would have us a letter, so it would have to go to appropriations.
Well, Mr. Chairman, to clarify, since that part of the bill doesn't take effect till July 1st, I guess if the General Assembly doesn't give away any more free fishing licenses, there won't be any fiscal impact.
I hear you, I hear you, Delegate Fowler, and I just don't usually argue with a speaker's letter. You may go entertain that conversation on the 12th floor. I have bills still before appropriations. All right. With that, thank you for the robust discussion from the subcommittee. Are there folks here to testify on behalf of the bill? Mr. Brown, you're back.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just quickly, Ryan Brown, Director of the Department of Wildlife Resources. And while it's not the agency's bill, we do support the free fishing days expansion. To clarify, first of all, Delegate Weber, I think you understand how the added language works. The addition of an additional free fishing weekend is not viewed as something that's going to cause any negative revenue impact. That's how we market fishing and get new people into it, and give us the opportunity to do a spring set and a fall set. If there's any questions about how we are funded, which is licensed dollars and non-general funds, are how that's done, I'm happy to address any of those.
Mr. Chair, question.
Go ahead, Delegate Weber.
So have we kind of reached critical mass where, as if we give free licenses, the fishing days, I mean, I don't know how you even quantify that, but like licenses, so we're going to give a certain, set of citizens another free license. We've kind of reached a point where we will hinder your ability to continue to function normally, correct?
I think that's what your wildlife director would tell you about the state of things. The free fishing weekend, people who would not buy a license for that weekend are not going to buy a license otherwise. It's a way to generate interest and hopefully get them to buy a license. On license exemptions, there are a number of those in code. You're familiar with those. We probably weigh on the more giving of the states out there in terms of numbers of exemptions that exist. While it's not possible to precisely quantify how much that means, I was sitting with my finance director actually when the other bill language came up, and I would tell you very comfortably, or I'm very comfortable, it's over $10 million in revenue annually that we lose out on, and that's with a $75 million annual operating budget. So you can imagine what that does fiscal impact-wise to the department.
Mr. Brown, appreciate that. A quick follow-up question for you, and I'm very sympathetic to the challenge, one, the excellent work the department does, and two, the fiscal challenges that us giving away licenses places on you as much as we want to demonstrate our priorities and what we care about as the Commonwealth, which I think we do through that. Do we have significant indicators or evidence that we increase revenue, increase licenses as a result of those free days that we already have? Are there proof points that suggest that we are increasing our revenues into your specific funds as a result of the existing free days?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. So the answer to, do I have a study that says put in this and get out this result at the end? No, you can't really quantify it that way. What I can tell you is we hold events across the Commonwealth to get people out to try fishing and interact with their staff, and those are widely attended. Very much seem to be appreciated by the public. So, I would tell you, if you said, what's your feeling? I would say, yes, we do probably sell more licenses as a result of those days. Can I prove that to you? No, I can't.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, Delegate Lawfer, go ahead.
I just want to say, I think you brought this before, Delegate Fowler, is that correct? I feel like I saw this bill last year. Yes. So I actually, last year I did say, if we can start monetizing or calculate like how many people are showing up to this, are they actually buying license? And I think, that would make it more, it just would make it easy. Obviously, I'm sympathetic to this, but if there's any way to kind of calculate or document how many folks are coming out to these, I think it's great. But I do think that we're putting a lot on staff to be given these anyway. So I just would say again this year that maybe we can get some more information.
Delegate Fowler, I can see that you got some strong feelings.
I hate to say it, but I think we're kind of overthinking this thing a little bit. The whole purpose of the free fishing days all along was to get young people and even parents, off of the lazy boy, away from the screen, getting outdoors, enjoying all the great assets that DWR has, whether it's their campgrounds, the wildlife management areas, fishing and hunting and all those things. So again, what the goal is, we want to get, we'll start off with young people, get them out there, let them experience the outdoors, let them gain some knowledge and respect of things that are wild and nature, all it has to offer. That is the goal. That is what we're trying to accomplish here. And the other thing that was just added onto this bill doesn't necessarily have anything to do with that. The free fishing days is just, it's like when the ice cream store gives away popsicles. I guess what we're trying to do is get people outdoors and enjoy the natural world.
Thank you, Delegate Fowler. I think what I'm hearing, I think what I'm hearing from Delegate Lawfer and a few other folks as we're thinking about this is, on one hand, we're saying we've got to really worry about the revenue side of this, which makes a lot of sense in that second half because we've done that. And on the other hand, we're saying we want to do more free things that don't have any sense of we have a good feeling that perhaps it inspires more licenses, but no data to back that up. So it is a conundrum that we find ourselves in that you've highlighted in a good way that says, hey, we've done all this stuff that's challenging to our revenue. On the other hand, we're trying to inspire folks, but we don't know if it generates revenue. Delegate Weber, go ahead.
So I guess this is a question for Chair. So part of the reason for the second half of the bill, at least from my perspective, a year hunting license and you pick up tags and all of that can get considerably expensive. Well, expensive compared to like a fishing license. A yearly fishing license is like $40. But a hunting license, which we provide like for certain Virginians, we provide for free. And I think my waterfowl license and everything that I get with it's like $180. And so when you get enough of those folks together, cumulative, because we've done it, I don't know, every other year, there's somebody says, okay, we're going to provide a new subset. So I think in that regard, I actually think the second half of that's necessary because we have to be able to enforce the laws on the books. And if we give away too much of it, we won't be able to hire the necessary folks to enforce that law.
Thank you very much on that. We have had a robust discussion on the bill, Delegate Fowler. I know that the chair came and testified on behalf of the bill. Are there any other witnesses to testify on behalf of the bill after that robust discussion? Is there anybody opposed to the bill who would like to testify? Mr. Clerk, I don't think we have anybody online. Delegate Fowler, are you expecting anybody online?
No, sir.
All right. Delegate Fowler, in an effort at expediency here, given just how robust discussion we have, did you still want to take another few seconds?
Just want to reiterate one last thing in the final language at the end of the bill. It establishes generally it's July 1st, 2025. Nothing that's happened before then impacts, our general fund. It's what happens after that. And so again, I guess if the General Assembly doesn't give away any more fishing and hunting licenses, there's not going to be a problem. So that's that. Again, the main purpose of the bill, this got added on from the other bill. The main purpose of the bill is to get our young people outside and in the wild, Mr. Chairman. That's the intent of this bill.
With that goal of getting young people outside, which I think is supported fully by the subcommittee. This subcommittee operates by motion. Delegate, I'll entertain the motion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd move to gently lay this bill on the table.
It has been moved and properly seconded to lay this bill on the table. That is a non-debatable motion. The clerk will open the rolls. Clerk will close the roll. The motion to lay the bill very gently on the table passes on a vote of 6-4. Mr. Chair, if it's okay with you, please, I think the delegate has for the last couple of years raised some good issues. I think the committee has had the same sets of questions on basically does doing these extra 3 days, is that revenue neutral? Is it revenue positive? Are we losing money? Would it be okay if we asked for a letter?
Delegate Homer, I'd be happy to send that letter on behalf of the full committee.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. All right, with that, Delegate Fowler, I believe you have one more bill.
One more, this probably shouldn't take long.
That's what you said about the last one, isn't it? What you said, Delegate Fowler?
There was a lot of testimony, we'll see that. But House Bill 2622 has to do with companion animals. I had a constituent call me who a neighbor or somebody that lived close to her had her companion animal and then called her up and told her that if she wanted the companion animal back, that she would have to give him $1,000. You know, and I got to tell you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. And so I told her I would try to look up the code and see what we could do. So, and that is what I did. And this is what House Bill 2622. It basically requires a citizen to give notification to an individual that they found their companion animal. And if they fail to do that, the current code says that, you know, if they don't do that, they may be subject to a civil penalty not to exceed $50. So first of all, I thought that was really low, and I think, quite frankly, it's embarrassing. And so I scratched out $50 and put in $500 if you fail to return somebody's companion animal. And so we can have a debate about the amount, but that is essentially the bill. I think if you have somebody's dog or cat or whatever it is, and you don't return it, I know how important pets are to people, and and I think it's wrong, and I think people ought to be punished, and I think that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you very much, Delegate Fowler. Are there questions from the subcommittee? I see no questions from the subcommittee. Are there those here to testify in favor of Delegate Fowler's bill? Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Daphne Nekminovich. I'm representing People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. We wholeheartedly support Delegate Fowler's bill. $50 does not dissuade anybody from doing the wrong thing. $500 may. We encourage you to keep the amount at $500. Under the law, animals are personal property, so this is this really equals to theft. But we support the bill, and we thank Delegate Fowler for introducing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Others to speak in favor of the bill? Are there those opposed to the bill? Delegate Fowler, we do have some folks online. All right. There are a few folks online who love this bill. They all say they love it. Let's go ahead. Let's set the timer. And Ms. Meinzer, welcome back. You're here to testify.
Thank you very much, Heidi Meinzer, on behalf of the Virginia Federation of Humane Societies. The amount in question for the fine has not been touched in many, many, many years, and certainly if somebody found my dog, I wouldn't think $50 would motivate them to give the dog back. We wholeheartedly support this bill, and we thank Delegate Fowler for bringing it.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. We have Ms. Adams. You will have to turn on your camera. It's a rule of the House of Delegates. If you would mind turning on your camera, we'd be happy to have you testify.
Thank you. Welcome from the snowy Virginia Beach. I represent the Virginia Alliance for Animal Shelters, and I will tell you, I sent out a notice last night to 325 folks, and I never get this kind of response on a bill. I got 17 jurisdictions responding that they were in favor of this bill, from Madison to Campbell to Amelia to Chesterfield, Powhatan, Hanover. Haven't changed the amount since 2003. We have had folks tell our animal control officers it's cheaper to keep the dog than buy a new one. because $50 is cheap. And it's time that we take this more seriously, and this will enable the folks in your jurisdictions who you ask to enforce this law to actually be able to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. With that, I appreciate it. That ends our testimony before and against the bill. At this moment, Delegate Lopez, I see that you have a question.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess my questions are, this is theft. What's the current criminal penalty for addressing this issue, and what are the actual penalties, and how many thousands of dollars and how many days in prison are we talking about?
Mr. Chairman, I can't answer that question, but in subsection C here, it's classified as a civil penalty.
Right, but
that's about the extent of my lawyering.
Right, the theft of a companion animal, though, is also, I mean, this is an addition, like what you're talking about with the civil penalties, in addition to the potentially criminal violation that's happened with the theft of the companion animal. And so I guess what I'm asking is there someone in the audience who can answer that question? Because I think that's a fairly robust penalty, even if it's a misdemeanor 3 or misdemeanor 2 or misdemeanor 1. And so this is sort of, I don't want to say it's performative, but 50 to 500.
Well, Mr. Chairman, again, all this legislation does is address the civil penalty. It does not address the criminal penalty. So now, could a Commonwealth's attorney bring a criminal? I mean, you know, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say, but I guess they probably could.
All right. Thank you, Delegate. Thank you, Chairman. I don't see any further questions from the subcommittee. Appreciate the testimony. We've had a robust discussion. Delegate Fowler, the last word is yours, and then we will entertain motions.
Again, I think this can be, for a family to have somebody steal their dog, I think can be very hard, especially with children. And when I see that, I want to do something about it. And I think this bill does that. So again, I appreciate the support of the subcommittee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you very much. This committee operates by motion. Entertain motions at this time. Delegate Willett.
Mr. Chair, I move that we lay this bill on the table.
It has been moved to lay the bill on the table. And properly seconded. The clerk will open the rolls. It is a non-debatable motion. The clerk will close the rolls. The motion to lay the bill gently on the table passes on a vote of 5-4. Thank you very much, Delegate. Delegate Lopez, do you want to go ahead and do your bill? Do you want to do it from there or from the dais? Sure. Oh, you want Delegate Wilt to go first? Delegate Wilt, you are up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. There is a substitute. I would ask that you move the substitute.
Okay, it has been the substitute has been moved and properly seconded. That is a voice vote. All in favor shall say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. All right, the ayes have it. The substitute is properly before us. Delegate, we'll go ahead and take about a minute to tell us about your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you use House Bill 2633. It deals with the issue of misbranded meat food products. And what the substitute did was include poultry into the bill language. It is a transparency measure, Mr. Chairman, to ensure that consumers are informed about what protein products they're eating, and then they can make their own decisions whether they buy it. I know there's a lot of topics facing us as a nation, but one of the things I would dare say everybody in this room is concerned about, what are you eating? And so that's what this bill does. It's simply requiring that the products based on manufactured proteins, that if you're going to call it chicken, beef, pork, poultry, or whatever you're going to call it, that you need to have a label affixed with it under the qualifying terms. That there's a broad list of terms that you can call it, but you got to put something on there that identifies it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you very much. With that, I'll entertain questions from the committee. Delegate Weber.
So as I understand the bill, if a company produces a manufactured protein and it looks like one of my steaks, it can look like beef, but it's somewhere on the package it has to say that it's manufactured protein food product, as I understand it.
Mr. Chairman, I would answer, there's, again, in the body of the bill, there's a wide variety of qualifying terms you can call it. I'm not saying you have to call it something, but you have to identify it as not 100% beef. You can't say this is a beef steak, that there's something else involved here.
All right, thank you, Delegate. Delegate, you have a question?
I do, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A question for the patron. So what's the overlay here with USDA in terms of their requirements and labeling and what they allow or don't allow?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware of the USDA regulations. I can't speak to that. But I do know, Mr. Chairman, other states are starting to take action, and I don't know that USDA has anything firmly, but I'm pretty sure they're working on it. And so this is one of those situations where we say, well, hey, something's coming from the federal government. Let's just wait on them. Mr. Chairman, you know very well we oftentimes deal with issues in this body. If we're waiting on the federal government, we might be a while. So I think it's prudent of us to go ahead and take steps to protect and enlighten. I'm not banning this. Some states have gone to that extent, but I'm not. Let's just let folks know what they're buying.
Thank you, Delegate. I don't see any further questions from the subcommittee. I'll go ahead and put 3 minutes up on the board for those who wish to come and testify in favor of this bill. I know we have some testimony in favor of this bill because folks have been lining up outside my office. All right.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Jim Riddell with the Virginia Cattlemen's Association. We support the bill brought by Delegate Tony Wilt. This is all about truth in labeling, and this is about livestock producers in Virginia and poultry producers in Virginia. Over the last 5 years, we lost 5,000 farms in Virginia. Producers work hard every day to bring high-quality, wholesome food products, meat, to the table. The public deserves to know how their food is produced and understand that meat and poultry products produced in a bioreactor or a lab grown are not the same as those that are farm-raised as the same high-quality meat. This bill, again, is about truth in labeling and transparency so you know what your food is and how it's produced. You remember last year we brought you a bill and we verified where some meat was produced and who produced it. This is about how your meat is produced. There's much support for truth in labeling, and consumers want more information. You ask about the federal involvement. The feds haven't done anything with it. USDA, the Food Safety Inspection Service, has that kind of authority, but there's been years we've been trying to get some things. 14 states today have taken action and have passed state code. This bill ensures that alternative protein products not derived from a live animal be labeled with a qualifying term, as Delegate Wilt said. Make sure you know it doesn't do anything anybody can raise and produce and manufacture and continue to sell. They just have to label it correctly and not label it as meat. We support the bill. Some of you asked about some of the things, what's been added and what is some of the impact. We're seeing some things like peanut meal, soybean meal, other things that are allergens that are being put in, they're still being called meat. So there are all kinds of products. But I'll stop there. There are others that want to testify, and it's a good bill. It's for the industry of agriculture here in Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, Jake Tabor, Virginia.
3 seconds left.
Jake Tabor, Virginia Farm Bureau. We're supportive. I want to highlight another topic about the urgency of this is that consumers are going to the grocery store every day across America making these decisions. And last year, Beyond Meat settled a $7.5 million case action that their advertising was confusing and consumers and that about the quantity and the contents of their product. And we're not opposed to the competition, Mr. Chairman. We're not afraid of that, but we do think that these products need to stand on their own merit and not piggyback on the centuries-old reputation and quality of animal proteins. Thank you.
Hobie Bowen, Virginia Poultry Federation. We're supportive of legislation at the federal level. There was a bill in, but until that time, we're supportive of this effort at the state level. Thank you.
Could you state your name and...
Mr. Chairman, Brad Copenhaver, Virginia Agribusiness Council, we also support. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. All right, appreciate all the testimony for the bill. Are there any here to testify against the bill? All right, there is nobody here to testify against the bill. Online, do we have no testimony online? Are you expecting anybody online?
No, sir.
All right, well, you didn't expect them, they didn't come. So, all right, with that, open it up to committee or discussions or questions from the subcommittee. Delegate Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question. In the bill, it states manufactured protein food products means cultivated protein food products, fungus protein, insect protein, and plant, and etc. So currently, if someone is eating an insect protein or a fungus protein food, how is that currently labeled? Does it have that in the stores?
Mr. Chairman, I would answer, I'm not sure. I've never eaten bug protein, but if you're going to call it hamburger, then you need to specify that this is bug protein hamburger or something of the sort. You got to differentiate. You can't have, exactly what you're saying, but you can't call it something else. You need to let the consumer know exactly what they're purchasing.
Thank you. Delegate, I don't know, but to get to the heart of the delegate's question there, do we have anybody who can testify as to current ingredients requirements? Because I understand that we're talking about the front label, right? We're saying meat, but I imagine when you flip it over, there's a set of ingredients that have to be listed on the back within certain parameters as specified by the USDA, but I don't know if you have anybody who can answer that question from a technical basis. I want to turn to our attorneys because it's a federal question.
I'll try to answer your question. Could you repeat your question, Delegate?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just referring to the bill when it points out some of the different food proteins such as fungus and insects and plants. Currently, if that is in your food and is portrayed as beef, will it already say it or state it in the stores? How is it currently?
And that's really the point of the bill. It's not stated necessarily, and there's no misbranded of the product. If it's there, you don't know it. And they or whoever's the product may say it's meat, or it's a product that misrepresents itself as meat. And again, there is no until we have something in place that calls it misbranded, unless it is again derived from a farm animal, livestock, or poultry. That's meat is what we're trying to say to you. And the other products, that are using, it's cultured meat, it's lab-based, it's fungus-based, insect. They're not meat products. Under this is what we're trying to describe to you. If that helps you, I'm not sure it does.
It is helpful. I'm going to take the chair's prerogative just for a second to follow up, if you could stay here, just so I know. Now, I know that Virginia beef is some of the purest beef in the country, and and excellent. But my understanding is that even within our current parameters, laws, and how we federally regulate, there are tolerances for certain impurities that exist in the meat. So you might find, if one did a deep and microscopic inspection, things like certain parts per million of insect or whatever that does. That would be true. And that would also not be listed on the package.
Correct, Delegate. And in the bill, it allows for a trace and allows for that as well. And we have some state officials that may ask, state veterinarian or others may be able to answer this better than I can, but from VDACs,
That's perfect. I think you answered the question, which is we could have those things even in our existing.
Yeah. And
We wouldn't find it, but if we look technically, and even our very high quality beef, we could find some of those things, but they wouldn't be listed.
and several of you, if you don't mind, I asked, is this going on? It is going on in Virginia and in 14 states that have passed laws to try to, again, get truth in labeling, food safety. It's about food safety, and there are again products that are going in, and someone may label it as beef or meat, and it's misbranded. It's not coming from an animal. Thank you.
All right, Delegate Weber.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Speaking of the legislation.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the heart of this is that the reputation of animal proteins is one that many of us, unless you're like my former seatmate Chris Hedden, decided to go vegan, which is a dire mistake. Is known, reputable. We have a very safe food system in regards to this. Processors are inspected by VDAX. Certain processors are inspected by VDAX and USDA, and meat is a known quantity. And what this bill seeks to do is those that are imitating meat, that are riding the coattails of a very juicy, wonderful filet in order to sell a product, be truthful in that that product is produced or manufactured and grown as in a lab as opposed to coming from a natural source. Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Delegate, there being no further questions on the subcommittee and a robust discussion having taken place, you have the final brief word.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two quick points. One to your comment. This is not a gotcha bill. Okay, I am not looking to ban these folks at all. Just looking, they just need to say what the product that they're producing is, and labeling it correctly. And to Delegate Clark's comment, it may not be exactly this scenario, but our daughter has celiac disease. So, Mr. Chairman, been dealing with that for quite a number of years. So back when that became a thing, we didn't even know what it was. Nobody knew what it was. So when we went to buy food for her, it was trial by error, Mr. Chairman. And so we would have to look at the back of the label, all those terms that we all understand very well, technical, chemical, and we had to cipher through all that, try to figure out. Well, thankfully, in today's world, that's kind of become a thing, a hit. People, and now it's a lot of times it's right there on the front label, gluten-free. And so that's kind of goes to what we're trying to do here. I'm not implying these, the alternatives are bad for you. I mean, it's protein and likely could be, but just say what it is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Delegate. We operate by motion. Delegate Willett, do you have a motion?
I do, and I do think I'm expressing on behalf of the committee that there is a lot of concern about consumer information and potentially being misled here. But we've also heard that there is a federal, I think it's called the Fair Labeling Act, that's pending federal legislation. I know the feds do take longer than we do to get things done, but I think there's also concern that we need to coordinate, and we could end up with something being inconsistent or superseded by that. So my motion would be to gently lay this on the table.
Motion's made to lay the bill on the table. It's been properly seconded. That is a non-debatable motion. That motion is in front of us.
Mr. Chair, could I have my seatmate vote for me?
The clerk, just to be proper, why don't we have the clerk record your vote?
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I would.
Mr. Mayor, no?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, so the clerk can record that.
Well, I can run up and do it till they.
I don't dislike it.
Let me, Mr. Chairman, I'll just run up and hit my button.
Okay, go ahead and run up. He's moving up here. He's voting nay. All right. Are there any other votes? Okay. Hold on. We haven't closed the roll yet. vote is not recording? Okay. That's right. All right. It seems that some folks are trying to vote. Clerk, can you destroy the rolls and reopen the rolls? All right. The motion to table fails in a vote of 3-4 with 2 abstentions. So the bill remains before.
Mr. Chair, move to report.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly seconded to report the bill. The committee will cast its votes. That's substituted. The All right. The clerk will close the rolls on a vote of 4-3 with 2 abstentions. The HB 2633 reports. Thank you very much, Delegate Wilt, and everybody for the robust discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm still standing because I want to officially thank the chair and the committee for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, Delegate Lopez, closing us out.
Sure. So we have a substitute for the bill. Can we move the substitute, Mr. Chairman?
Second. It has been moved and properly seconded. The substitute is now before us. Delegate Lopez.
Thank you. So after working with the State Veterinarian's Office, we've redrafted the bill to avoid unintentional operation or fiscal impacts. This substitute fulfills the bill's original intent to give localities permissive authority to inspect animal boarding facilities. In addition, there's an exemption for boarding facilities secondary to a veterinary practice. This change was made in the Senate companion at the request of the Department of Health Professions, and I've added it to ensure our 2 versions conform. So last summer, several pet dogs tragically died following stays at the same boarding facility in Alexandria. These incidents highlighted significant concerns regarding the oversight and regulation of animal boarding facilities across the Commonwealth. The Animal Welfare League of Alexandria conducted an investigation noting that while no active cruelty was found, the facility had a high animal-to-staff ratio, 100 to 160 animals cared for by just 4 to 5 staff, which may have compromised the quality of care. Currently, local animal welfare authorities have limited inspection authority, can only inspect animal boarding facilities in response to specific complaints. Routine inspections are under the jurisdiction of the state veterinarian. Unfortunately, this reactive approach may delay the identification and correction of substandard conditions. This bill would grant localities the authority to conduct such inspections of animal boarding establishments and aims to ensure that the care, control, or protection of companion animals in these facilities is consistent with the law. Granting localities this permissive inspection authority enables proactive identification and remediation of potential issues, enhancing animal welfare and preventing tragedies. Moreover, regular inspections by local animal welfare authorities will hold facilities accountable while restoring faith in their safety. Virginia's pets deserve the highest standard of care, and this bill will help make sure they receive it. I'm grateful to the Office of the State Veterinarian for working with us and the City of Alexandria, which requested this bill. I look forward to your questions and hopefully support for the bill.
Thank you, Delegate Lopez. Are there... Gotta wait. Gotta wait. I didn't ask yet. I didn't open it up to questions yet. Okay. All right. We will entertain questions at this time, and we will go with Delegate Fowler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just got a statement. I'm glad to hear that the Uber chairman actually cares about companion animals. So thank you, sir.
Delegate Fowler, did you have a question for the patron?
Mr. Chairman, if I'd had a question, I would have asked it.
Right. I wish I called on Delegate Weber first.
See?
Now. See, he wasn't listening. But he was almost. And there's no rule followers on that side of the aisle. All right. Delegate Weber, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, you sure?
Yes.
All right.
All right. So this bill allows localities to inspect these facilities. What is the current, what kind of restrictions do the localities currently have in order to help monitor these facilities?
You want to speak to this? All right. Just to make sure we get this completely accurate and we're able to answer your question perfectly, I want to hand it over to some other folks.
Good morning, or evening, Mr. Chairman, members. Sarah Graham Taylor on behalf of the City of Alexandria. Currently, localities have the authority to inspect these kinds of facilities, pet boarding facilities, only when there is a complaint about the facility. So in this case, if someone had complained about substandard conditions at this place, the local animal welfare people, this isn't code, this isn't fire, this is your local animal welfare agency, could go in and do an inspection. This is giving localities who want the authority for their local animal welfare folks to go in annually, semi-annually, and whatever, and whatever cadence they'd like, but not just in a reactionary fashion to a complaint or a tragedy in this case, where we had these 3 dogs die within, just weeks of each other at the same facility.
Further question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Delegate Weber.
I realize it's getting late. In the bill, is there any limitations as to the number of visits that a locality can prescribe?
There is neither a ceiling nor a floor on the number of inspections. It was something we went back and forth on, whether we wanted to set a ceiling or a floor. It is not something that that we had any particular affinity for. We just kind of wanted to leave it open. Again, this is permissive authority, and it might not be something that everyone wants to do. And we certainly didn't want to step on the toes of the state veterinarian, which can also do similar inspections.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And do, I might add.
Yeah, do.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Delegate Weber. Delegate Wilt, a question?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just for the body, I was just curious if the state veterinarian is present.
Delegate Wilt, your question is answered. The state veterinarian is in fact present.
Would you like to ask the veterinarian a question, Delegate Wells? Or are you going to be really bright like Delegate Fowler?
Are there further questions from the subcommittee?
Follow-up question, Mr. Chairman?
Maybe. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just so you've heard the issue, can you just briefly walk us through processes that leads to an inspection from your department?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Charlie Broadus, State Veterinarian with VDAX. The administration does not have a position, but certainly this legislation is permissive and would allow localities to provide inspections if they so wish. We also have that power. We have the authority to do that, but with limited staff, it does not happen very frequently.
Delegate Wilt, the state veterinarian is present, has answered your second question. Is that all you got?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. And Delegate Runyon, do you have a question?
I do. As a follow-up, Mr. Chair, to the comment the state veterinarian made, Mr. Chair, he said we have the ability to do this. Does he mean we have the ability to inspect, or does he mean that we have the ability to allow a locality to inspect, to ask a locality to perform an inspection?
Can you please clarify?
Thank
Can you currently allow a locality to do an inspection?
Mr. Chair, yes, we could. We could do either. Either the locality could be allowed, and they currently can do so on complaint. If there's an issue that's raised, they can do it then. They may be able to, this certainly clarifies that they're able to do it more without complaint.
Follow-up, Mr. Chair, and I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Delegate Ryan.
So at the current state system, is there a limit, Mr. Chairman, to the number of times an inspection can occur without cause, without complaint? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, there's not a limit to that with respect to the inspections that are performed at private or public animal shelters or pet shops or any issue that may arise. There's not a limit.
All right. Thank you. With that, seeing no other questions from the subcommittee, we will set the timer to 3 minutes, please. We will entertain testimony in favor of this bill first. Again, a reminder, please keep your comments brief so that folks behind you have a chance to testify as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Kirk McPike. I'm a member of the City Council of Alexandria. We appreciate Delegate Lopez bringing this bill forward to address the tragic situation which took the lives of Clark, Blue, and Lily in our city in a boarding facility. We long to have the authority to have proactive inspections to protect the life and welfare of the pets of the City of Alexandria's residents who go to these boarding facilities. We appreciate that this is a permissive structure, that not what we want to do isn't necessarily going to be a perfect fit for every locality in the Commonwealth, but we hope that you will report this bill to the floor so that we can take the actions proactively that we would like to take to protect animals in our jurisdiction.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee, Susan Seward with the Virginia Veterinary Medical Association. We support the bill as amended. We appreciate Delegate Lopez addressing our concerns. I think this is a good and appropriate bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. My name is Daphne Nakminovich. I'm here on behalf of People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Thank you, Delegate Lopez, and thank you to the City of Alexandria for requesting this bill. We wholeheartedly support this bill. We do get complaints about facilities like this, and this would be very useful and protective.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Cheryl Crow with the Humane Society of the United States. We very much support this bill, and we appreciate Delegate Lopez's proactive approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Delegate and members of the committee. Tabitha Treelor for the Richmond SPCA. We also are grateful to Delegate Lopez for bringing this bill, especially considering the VDAX has acknowledged the shortage of inspectors available at the state level, giving localities that desire this latitude, that the ability to do these inspections will improve welfare of animals in boarding facilities. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Will those who want to testify against the chairman of ACNR's bill please come forward? Stunning. All right. Are there folks online who want to testify for or against the bill? It seems that we have at least one. All right. I cannot. Is that? Oh, yes. Ms. Meinzer. Go ahead, ma'am. You are good to go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the subcommittee. Heidi Meinzer on behalf of the Virginia Federation of Humane Societies, as well as a resident of Alexandria. I want to thank Delegate Lopez and Senator Eben for their efforts on this. And as amended, it will create a situation where localities will be able to act quickly if they so want to. We understand the burdens on the Department of Agriculture, and for those localities who want to respond quickly, this will allow them to do so. I'm very grateful for the AWLA in our city and our city attorney. They're doing a wonderful job on this issue, and we hope that you do report this bill.
Right. Thank you very much. I see no one who wants to testify against the chairman's bill. Is there anybody who'd like to have further discussion on the chairman's bill? There is a letter, so the appropriations would like to have further discussion on your bill, Mr. Chair, but we have no bearing on that. I'll entertain a motion at the appropriate.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I wish to ask the patron a question to clarify, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Delegate.
I appreciate that. And I'm very sympathetic to what we're trying to accomplish here, but my concern is that we've created a bifurcated business model here in that, as I understand it, perhaps I'm wrong, but if, Mr. Chairman, if I'm operating a doggy daycare or a boarding facility associated with a veterinarian clinic, I have one level of review allowed. If I'm operating an independent boarding facility, I have a higher level of, and that concerns me. if I'm wrong in how I've interpreted the ordinance, I would like to know. But it does concern me that we're separating those two businesses in a separate business model. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Ryan.
I would answer with the exemption for boarding facilities secondary to a veterinary practice. There was some concerns from the state veterinary's office about that, and that's why we made that change. Along those same lines, though, we are still helping a considerable number of folks who are stuck in this kind of situation. And even though we're only getting half a loaf, it's still significant.
You're welcome, Delegate Runyon. I think that does beg the question, though, Delegate Runyon, if you ran a doggy daycare, what would you call it? All right. With that, we will entertain motions. Is there a motion before us at the time? Delegate Clark would like to report and refer the chairman's bill to appropriations. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded to report and refer the substitute to appropriations. This time the clerk will open the roll. Clerk will open the roll.
There we go.
The clerk will close the roll on a vote of 9-0. HB 2313 as substitute is reported and referred to the Committee on Appropriations. Thank you all. That concludes the final pre-crossover meeting of the Ag Subcommittee.